Everybody hear me okay? Chat and clear. So, welcome. Welcome everybody to Loud and Clear. This is episode 19, and this is where we talk about audio mastering, audio production, and all the things that actually make records translate in the real world. I'm Glenn Schick, and I've been a mastering guy for many decades now. So, greetings from Reykjavik. We are a lovely end of summer day in Iceland. It's about 50 degrees. It feels like winter is here already. I went on a bike ride this morning and it was a bit chilly, but at least it's not raining, so I will not complain. Um, Today we have a really fun show. I've got a guest today, and he is a gentleman who has an audio company called Audio Alchemist, and he also happens to be the president of a lovely company I've been working with for many years called Dangerous Music. And that gentleman is Mr. Marek Stycos. Hello, Marek.
What's happening? Good to see you,
How
man.
are you, my friend?
Aging gracefully like fine wine, as we say in the business.
Yeah, I also have to say you are the best dressed man in audio. I think you've heard this before.
I don't know about best. There have been other adjectives that have been utilized.
I've passed you a million times in trade shows, AES, NAM, you name it, and we don't know each other that well. Like I think I've maybe talked to you a couple times at trade shows, but my history with Dangerous goes back a long ways, and Dangerous, actually, well, even pre-Dangerous, I would say, because back in the early '90s, Chris Muth, and to those who don't know the name Chris Muth, he is a fantastic gear designer and just a brilliant, brilliant audio mind, one of the greats, and was responsible for Sterling Sound in their heyday, and I so wanted to be like Sterling Sound. So I begged Chris to build me stuff back in the early '90s, and he did when he got off his exclusive contract. And then when Dangerous opened up, I was dealing with Bob. But now you are the face of Dangerous.
For better or for worse, that's it. And yeah, to underscore what you said about Chris, the way I put it for people in shorthand is Chris is the Rupert Neve of mastering. You just don't know the name, but that's who he is. And he's a absolute pleasure to work with and share his mind space and his ears and his insights with. It's he's like he's a idiot savant of circuitry, you know, but he's actually a person you can hang with. Some of those folks are, you know, a little tough because they got some gifts and are missing a bunch of others.
Yeah, I'm reminded of Burgess from Sontech when you say that. So,
I don't know Burgess
oh,
stuff,
you
so
didn't know Burgess? He was
no,
interesting. But
can't
yes,
comment.
Chris was one of the most underappreciated, or is, I should say, one of the most underappreciated names in audio. And I happen to be a fan and love his gear. So, how did Dangerous evolve from Chris doing his custom things?
Well, I mean, really, he got involved in a recording studio with Bob called Dangerous Music. It was a recording studio down, it's now Flux Studios, right? It's Fab's place.
Hmm.
Fab has greatly expanded it and, improved upon it. But back in the day, that's what it was. It was called Dangerous Music because you took your life in your own hands, going down to that part of New York at that time,
Which street
rampant
was it
age
on?
of it's rampant age of crack and crime.
Hmm.
Um,
My favorite age.
down. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so somehow they connected through that, and Chris was doing some stuff there, and then they just and as I recall, Bob was actually helping repair stuff even for Sterling on the side, right? Chris would teach him how to do a thing, and then Bob would do the thing, and so that was all happening. It was all kind of interlaced, and then really the whole story came about from evolved from the two bus, the original two bus, and Gramercy Post, right, with Joe over there saying, "Hey, how come Okay, back up. Living La Vida Loca came out
Right.
first single that was tracked and mixed in
In
Pro
the box.
Tools and was a number one hit,
I
right?
remember that.
First number one hit that happened like that. So that changed the world. I think that was like 98 or somewhere in there. I was living in Miami at the time. I had a recording studio called Mad Hatter in North Miami Beach, 6,000 square foot facility. And Charles Dye was the guy that did that track, and he was a customer of mine because I was at Guitar Center, and he came in and he told me, "Hey man, I figured out the secret how to mix a hit record." And I go, "Great." I got down on my hands and knees and I begged him. I said, "Please tell me the secret." And he said, "You put Renaissance compressor on every track."
Nice.
And that's why if you look at the waveform, it looks like the late Chris Athens would say, it looks like a sausage.
Yeah.
so so um, anyway, so that started the whole thing. And so then when Joe called Chris and said, "Hey, I'm trying to I'm trying to build a bunch of rooms up here." I think he had like 7 or 9 rooms at Gramercy in the city, and New York City. Sorry, when I say the city, that's not it's
That's a
assumptive.
very New York thing.
Yes, exactly. I apologize to all the left coasters and the rest of the world. So yeah, so in New York City, and he said, "Hey, look, I'm trying to do this in the box thing, and it doesn't sound as good as my Neve console. What's going on?" And so Chris went down and listened, and they listened together and they measured stuff, and then he said, "I've got an idea," and Chris disappeared and came back, which is unlike many people in the electronics business. If you're familiar with it, they don't come back, or they go to repair your device. And the way I look at it is, I just pretend I never owned that. So when I get the call in 3 years that it's done, I'm very excited. Anyway, so Chris showed up pretty quick, and he had this FedEx box, and he was using it as the breadboard, and he just built all the circuits into the into the FedEx shipping box, and then he
Wow.
had these pigtails hanging off the ends of it, inputs outputs. And of course, you know Joe was a little skeptical, but he put it down there, and the rest is history. Like, not only did it sound better than in the box, it sounded better than Joe's console, and he actually took it down to put it on consignment that very day.
Wow.
And that's why, actually, if you look at, and if you told me you're going to ask this question, I would have had a picture ready. But if you look at the original purple two bus, if you open it up, you'll
Can
see
you
on the
just tell
circuit board.
everybody what the two bus is first?
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
sorry. So, well, just to finish the thought, if you open the
Oh,
box,
yeah,
it'll
sure.
say
Sorry.
Joe's Magic Box stenciled on the circuit board, because the idea came from him, or the impetus. Anyway, so yeah, so what is it? What is the two bus? So the two bus is a summing mixer. So you take 16 analog inputs, and that combines them into two stereo outputs, and you have two sets of those stereo outputs. One set goes to your monitor controller, so you can obviously hear what you're doing, because last time I checked, it's important when you're mixing to be able to hear. And the second set goes into your A to D converter, or as they're referred to today as my interface, or my Apollo. Apollo is the new word for Kleenex, I think, out there. So you go into your return into your session, in other words. So you'd have your session there, and you'd have your stereo mix down. So instead of working inside the box, you've gone outside for a lot of reasons, which I won't bore people with, and then you're coming back in.
So is this original piece somewhere on display, like a museum piece?
Well, they're still out there, man. I'm stupid enough to keep repairing things. If I'm not going to name any names, but if you're the artist formerly known as Digidesign, you take trade-ins on your old gear and then you dispose of it. right? So now you're not competing with the used market. So we're stupid enough that we keep repairing these things because I want to keep them out of a landfill, and they're perfectly good. And who cares if you have to fix a this or a that, right? So yeah, they're out there in the field, man. I mean, like Michael James has got he's got the modern Two Bus Plus, right, version of it, and he's got I think two or three, I can't remember, of the Two Bus Purple original guys. I mean, that's just how it is. It's they work, they keep running. So obviously Two Bus Plus defeats. Now all of a sudden we could do a 6-layer circuit board. Okay, so for in English, that means I can put different things in different layers. Just imagine, like, you could put your ground planes on one board, and you can put your analog audio and your digital audio or whatever in different layers on this thing. So that's that increased things like your stereo separation, your crosstalk improved. Your left and right are wider, so you can fit more things, more easily place your instruments. Obviously your noise floor is lower, which means you have more dynamic range, getting loud and getting quiet. And it's even flatter response than before. So whatever, it defeats the earlier one. Plus we added 3 cool analog color circuits in there that are unique for
Yeah, no,
your
I think I had
pleasure.
one of the early, 2 buses, like one of the purple ones, and,
Yeah,
of course, I had Chris's, old hand-built, Muth stuff, even pre
awesome.
that, and then I bought a whole bunch of new ones, so
Nice.
so,
Yep.
what's the I guess, Chris was a, kind of pioneer in, him and I'd say, like, Daniel Weiss on the digital end were, like,
Sure.
2 of the Chris was the analog guy, Daniel Weiss was the digital guy, and what was the dangerous design philosophy? Like, what what were you trying to bring to the table there?
Oh, well, okay, so everybody knows the name Neve and SSL. So what did Neve bring us? Neve brought us character. We still love it to this day. I don't know if you can see it if I change camera angles here. Yeah, maybe you can just see the edge of, I've got 8 1290s, vintage 1290s over there in the rack. Neves. So Neve brought us character. That's a thing that we know the sound of, we love, whatever. That's a classic sound. And then SSL brought us workflow, brought us automation, right? So all of a sudden we know convenience always wins. Doesn't matter that an MP3 sounds like shit. It's gonna, in the end, streaming, and that's gonna win over, your compact disc because it's just convenience. Yeah, obviously things have changed now, and we're evolving to higher quality streaming. I hope you all use Tidal since they pay their artists more than other services.
Amen.
So, so anyway, so we had character, we had automation and flow, and then dangerous brought you audiophilia. So what is audiophilia? Audiophilia is the magic behind the black curtain at the Sterling, mastering facilities at these places. It was a level of high fidelity that had never before been heard by the common human, right? Because 1989, you walk into a music store, yo man, I want to buy a mastering EQ. Doesn't
Sure.
exist, right? So you're out of luck. So the idea was Chris wanted to bring that high quality of incredible sound to the market, and that is inherent in every single product we make. So the idea is, first, I want to capture all your sound. So I'm going to get every last electron of your soul. I'm going to take your soul, right? Every last electron I'm going to take, capture, and once we have that, then you can decide what to do with it. So like in a lot of our products, you'll see color circuits. We've got 3 different types of transformers that you can utilize. We've got harmonics controls. We've got emphasis circuits. We've got paralimiter. So anyway, so we're with a bunch of different things that, what are color circuits? Color circuits are distortion generators primarily. Let's just be honest,
Sure.
right? But distortion is cool. Without distortion, we wouldn't have rock and roll,
Exactly.
we wouldn't have hip hop, So,
Exactly.
and anyway, so the point is you get to color it, but first we want you to capture everything, because if you can't get it first, then you've already lost it. It's like having a really, really bad microphone and trying to capture somebody's voice. You lost it at the beginning. So we want to capture everything and then give you the chance to do something with it. And we do that with massive headroom. We're big on analog headroom. So whether it's our A to D converter and we're capturing all your audio before conversion, whether it's our D to A, now we're reconstructing it out the backside, whether it's our compressor, we're not going to lose your stereo width. I mean, just try that with lots of compressors. Hit compress and you're like, hey, that sounds loud, and you're distracted. But what it's really doing is doing this, right?
Yes.
Pushing it forward. So we're not going to crush your mix. Like our Bax EQ, same thing. Put it on, you will hear no phase shift. The room won't change. It won't get smaller. It won't slip around. The vocalist won't move from that center position. So anyway, so the philosophy is it's your music. I'm not smarter than you. I'm not going to magically change your sound. You know, I always use gate stay level as an example. If I
Hmm.
put my vocal through a gate stay level, it actually sounds great on my voice, male vocal, bass guitar, kick drum. It's a beautiful piece, but it changes it radically, right? But it
Sure.
adds it adds girth, and it adds this gravitas, and so we like that. But you put it on a female voice or like a acoustic guitar or a flute or something, it's a disaster. So we're not we're not making that assumption that I want to put you through my Godzilla maker and make you amazing. I want you to be you because you have to be original, and I want to give you the space to be original because only original art stands the test of time.
Yeah, no, I think one of the things I keep telling people over and over again is source material is king. So if your source isn't good, everything down the line, and you're talking at the mastering phase now, where you're trying to hang on to every, like you said, little electronic,
Yes.
every qubit of whatever here, and if your source is not solid and you've compromised it in some way, it's not coming back
Do you ever send somebody back to redo the track before you
all the
master it?
time. I actually turn
Okay.
away probably a good 30% of what's submitted now, so
Excellent. I applaud you on this, my friend.
thank
Big
you. Yes,
applause.
as much as I like money, I didn't get into this business to be rich. I got in this to do
Thank
music.
God.
Yeah,
You
and it's
know,
proved out
all the dangerous t-shirts, the early dangerous teachers said, who do I have to fuck to get out of this business?
exactly.
Right?
So, yeah, here we are. I'm 35 years later, uh, you know, money is still not my goal, but I'm still trying to make good music. And
Good.
with that source material, that is the key for your. I'm going to say to all the mixers there, that's your key to your good mix. That's your key to your good master. That's the key to your good record at the end of the day. That and arrangements. But anyway, I want to ask you, do you want to get interrupted by our chat as we're going here, or do you want to save it towards the end? Because they're kind of a lively bunch, and they'll throw questions in all the time here. So,
Dude, you're driving here, man. I'm a
okay,
passenger. Normally I have to sit here and drive, so I know
all
how
right. Well,
difficult it is.
I'm just
So
asking you your preference.
I just get to
So,
like sit back here and drink beer and answer questions.
yeah. I've got my own little stuff here, so we have no shortage. Um, so I'm just looking here. We got some guys on the Instagrams. Did distortion derive from low quality sound, just low quality mix? I don't understand that.
I
Uh,
think what he's saying is where did distortion originally originate? And I would say through experimentation and mistakes and things, right? It's like that sound on Revolution. Nobody probably on this live stream's old enough to know the White Album, Beatles White Album,
they might
Revolution.
know it.
But it's like that sound. That's straight into the console, right? Just overdriving the preamp on there. So I mean, there are lots of ways to create distortion, and some of it, I would argue, some pleasant, some unpleasant. I think they're, for my taste, because I'm as old. I'm antediluvian, so I'm here before we had flush toilets. To my ears, there's too much today in some music, but I don't matter. That's you. You're young people driving the creative process. Drive it. Do crazy stuff. Great. That's you know, um, drive right past me. My job is just to get your stuff in correctly. Anyway, so distortion. I think it just came from, you know, um, trying stuff out, experimenting. I mean, in guitar amplification, people used to slice their speakers in the old days. Think about
Exactly.
like Woodstock or something. Slice the speaker to make it rattle more. Um, so yeah, whatever, just do whatever to get there. Run it through this and do that and do that and do this. But first, your point, Glenn, capture it beautifully. Like I don't care what genre it is. I don't care, if it's R&B or hip hop or metal or whatever. Try to capture it how you want it, all the essence. I mean, even Drake, right? He records two tracks. He records himself, essentially dry, and then he records through auto tune or his other signal path, right? So he's doing that simultaneously for a reason. If they have to um, touch anything, then they've got that original perfect take. So that would be my only thing. Is, capture it beautifully, and then have the fun and inspire yourself, make it go somewhere, feel it.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. So, when you're comparing like what stuff was like back in the day, like when you first started this, what year are we talking about? Like we're talking early '90s
When you're talking about when
when
Dangerous
Dangerous
started.
actually began the company that was making gear.
Well, you have to remember that I got exposed to them. I was director of sales at Guitar Center. I was
Yeah, right.
responsible for a $500 million business, for 2,000 sales humans, just driving pro audio there, and I was trying to change the world. One good piece of gear at a time. We would hide the Behringer stuff. My instructions were take the Behringer stuff and put it on the top shelf in the warehouse, and then stack the Allen and Heath mixers on the floor or whatever. So if a customer might just bump into it by mistake, like, oh, what's that? Okay, I guess I'll take this. I mean, it was the wild wild west, but that's what I was doing back then. I was bringing in great brands because you know Guitar Center I had to grow it up from being was considered not a great place. I had to grow it up to prove to the industry that, hey, you'll say, oh, Guitar Center, they don't know anything. We got 2,000 employees, and a bunch of those employees were freaking great human beings, great, knowledgeable about audio and wanted to learn. So all of a sudden, the internet doesn't, it barely exists. So we're providing structure, writing course materials, um, training people, pushing people to do things. We kind of taught the world what a converter was, right? It's like we helped put Apogee on the map. We helped put Radial on the map with their direct boxes. We opened them and put them in the counter. I gave Peter, another fallen hero, Peter Janis, just was like, dude, he gave it to me, listened to it. I listened to it compared to a Countryman, and I'm just like, it's better. We need to carry this, So
Right.
suddenly he's got uh, a revenue coming in, so he's got money to build other cool stuff, right? It's the same with artists. I want them to be able to make cool records. I wanted the manufacturers to be able to make more cool things that I could use too, selfishly. Anyway, so that's how I got to know Bob. I got to
Mhm.
know like Havana Manley. I got to know John Jennings at Royer. I got to know all these people, and I got to know um, Bob at Dangerous that way. And so so I was bringing his stuff into Guitar Center. We actually set up a system in the Manhattan Guitar Center, which I built, one of 50 stores that I built. Um, you know, Back then I had Phil Ramone came down and gave me the,
I knew Phil.
like platinum record,
Yeah.
Billy Joel, Glass Houses. We put it up there. What a beautiful guy.
Yeah,
Anyway, um, just so lucky to meet these people. Anyways, so uh, we had a system down there, set up early system, and then when I left Guitar Center in 2008, that's when Bob called me and said, "Hey, help! What can we do together?" So really, that's when I took over as as sales and marketing, um, sort of little by little just kept taking over more stuff, because if you have somebody capable, you just keep shoving stuff onto their plate, and until they
Exactly.
explode. And I exploded privately, I didn't explode publicly. So
Yeah, that's why we didn't know each other because my, connection with Dangerous was, early to mid '90s was, like, my main, you
right.
know, "Hey, Bob, what do you got? What can you send me? How many of
Yeah.
these you got? When can I have it?"
Yeah, yeah, totally. And it was really like that. It was really a cottage industry. Just we're not some, they didn't come in with investors or some big plan. I mean, same as now. I don't have any investors. I don't have venture capital. I don't have a board. I don't have partners. Um, that's why when we get attacked on YouTube or something like that about something, I'm like, hey, people, just send me a text or an email or send a note to me. You don't have to like drag me through the streets and flog me. I really, because if you got to know me, you'd know I'm really out here swinging for the fences, trying to do my absolute best to make you amazing products and spending way too much in research and development so that I still drive a 2007 Honda Pilot.
Yeah, no, actually, I also came from, your competitor's store, Sam Ash, and,
Yeah,
worked for them back in the old days, when I was still, like, salesman in the day and mixing at night, and,
right.
yeah, it's a great proving ground for, meeting everyone in the business and making connections and learning about all kinds of gear. Unfortunately, that kind of store doesn't really exist anymore, and, like, there's no local place for most people to go learn about stuff, so
Well, that I always told people it's your bar, right? So I would ask people, okay, why are you interviewing for this job? And tell me the truth. Don't give me some, I'm looking for a career,
I
in
wanna buy
music
microphones at
retail.
cost.
I think, yeah, I think I met one person that that actually wanted a career in the music industry and that part of the music retail my entire career. But yeah, I want to buy gear cheap. I want to learn, and I can't afford full sale. This job is cooler than working at Walmart. There all those kind of reasons, right? And that's fine. Or I want to be, I want to be a producer ultimately, so I want to meet people. Great. And I was totally fine with that. I'm like, cool. We know we both have a shared, that's reality. We both have a shared goal, and I want you to achieve your goal, and I hope you get there. In the meantime, hey, help some customers.
Yeah,
So it was a lot of fun. I don't know, obviously things have changed because there's a lot of online has decimated what happens uh, out there on the street, and that's, I'm not blaming online companies, because that's just the
things change.
natural flow of things. It's just things are changing. Yeah. So I'm not calling anybody out here, but you I still enjoy going to a music store, when I can, although I haven't been to one in quite a while. Someone's got to invite me.
So let's talk about just kind of, like, what was then, like, during the start of all these things, not once you got into the company and all that, uh, the Dangerous lineup was pretty much, set up for what? Like, analog consoles, tape machines, lathes, um, wasn't that the kind of de facto, you're setting up a mastering room at that point? It was
Well,
still old school,
yeah, so the company really started by uh, building a mastering console, right? So all the
right?
components you'd need for that. So you want your monitor section, you want to be able to change your levels, you want to be able to listen, um, mid-side box, hey, now I need conversion at some point, I need D to
Insert.
A, right? Yeah, right, right. So it started there, but the thing is, I mean, I'm not a mastering guy.
Mhm.
I'm a performer, I'm a songwriter, I'm a singer, I'm a guitar player, I'm an idiot. But I've loved recording my whole life, and I love music. I'm a complete, addict, music addict. And so to me, everything that I saw there, I was like, you're missing the boat, man. this needs to be in a recording studio, not just a mastering studio. Are you crazy? This gear's it's way better than what I'm listening to. You know, I'm sorry to admit this, but I'm the guy. The reason that the PreSonus Central Station was born is because of me. Because I told at the time Rick Noctvy, now he's at SSL, I told him, hey, we need this thing, we need something at Guitar Center where you can like, turn your volume up and down and whatever. And so they did, and they made the product, and and they hit a price point, and that's and nothing, no slagging on product at different price points, because we all came from somewhere. I started with Hosa Cable, and then I moved up to Proco because no one had taught me about Mogami. And then I learned about Mogami and made my own cables. And then finally I got worked with Phil Tennyson over there, and we actually made pre-packaged Mogami cables. That's where they came
Yep.
from, was me and Phil making that available for a retail store. I'm like, the customers need to know about this. If I don't know about it, they don't know about it. So anyway, so yeah, that was really it. It was like it was moving, just letting people know that, like, this is not the Bax EQ. Put it on every single thing you track. Use the cut filters when you
Right.
go to balance, as the pros tell us to do, as opposed to mixing like a caveman like myself does. You know, it'll be so much easier because you'll be bringing faders up and everything's not fighting itself. Same thing with the compressor. Put it on the vocal. You're gonna like, wow, I'm looking at that meter just dancing. I don't really hear it. Well, okay, well, you probably don't need that much compression, like the classic Billie Eilish uh, first hit, right? That was Rob Kanelsky at 20 to 1 on her vocal. He forgot. He didn't realize, on Bad Guy. So anyway,
That's awesome.
so that was the point, is get this stuff out to the mainstream, and then, man, I learned about, through all that, about listening, how important the monitor path was. Because up to that point, I was like everybody else. I was like, you read a book left to right. Your audio flow is left to right. You start with a microphone, get the best mic you can. Then when you get enough money, get the best preamp you can, and so on and so forth. And the last thing you do is buy a D to A and a monitor controller. But
Right.
man, it's the first thing you should do,
Yeah.
because you don't even know where to position that microphone on the singer because you can't hear anything. So it's like, hey, do I need 5 degrees up for a little more head voice, or 5 degrees down for more chest? Or maybe that mic sounds, for some weird reason, sounds better in omni on that singer, or tilted sideways. I mean, just experiment. When you're broke, like all of us have been. I built my first studio in Boston, Massachusetts when I was 21 years old, working at LaSalle Music on Boylston Street. May it
Mhm.
rest in peace.
Yeah.
you know, um, we made every mistake you could possibly make. Solder a patch bay upside down and backwards. Put SMPTE in the patch bay. Whatever you could do. I screwed it up, man. We didn't put any ventilation in the control room, and it was tiny, and so you would actually asphyxiate yourself. You would pass out, seriously pass out.
Wow. That takes some talent. Yeah.
It was airtight. Sounded
Yeah.
miserable. Felt miserable,
Mm.
but it was airtight, man.
Yeah. I think we all have some nightmare stories about our first builds. There's always something in there. So.
They continue, man. I want to open up the ceiling back here to go up into the second story into one of the bedrooms as a bass trap, right? And I'm
Mhm.
going to put a grid up there, and then you can put your throw rug during the day and have, like, like a piece of silk, like a parachute or something here to catch anything or whatever, so you can
Right.
clean it. But I mean, we're mad scientists. We're always trying to do something idiotic.
Of course.
What's that
That's
going
what
to do to the
makes it
value
fun.
of the house? Drill a hole, put, tear up the floor in the master bedroom. Great idea, man.
Awesome.
It's
So,
next.
I guess, like, what I'm asking was, the start of everything where everything was all gonna be analog back in the days to where we are now, how is, like, Dangerous kind of changing and dealing with the changing workflow?
Oh, well, we've developed the new workflow. That's the whole point. This is what people don't get. I call it the dangerous console or the dangerous system complete. And that's what I was just in the UK in Liverpool at Studio Care. Great place. KMR Audio, another great place. Great crew, both those places. You're out there, you know, don't be shy spending your dollars with those folks, really, or sorry, your pounds, your quid, those folks. Great humans. Anyway, that's what I was doing. I was demonstrating Dangerous Console and the new way of working because the workflows changed massively. I mean, think about it. In 1980, in 1960 and 70, you had primarily bands on the radio. 85% of the hit music were bands. And fast forward to today, and 0 to 5% are. And there are a
Right.
lot of reasons for that. And one of them is that the labels can't control five people, and neither can you when you're in the band. Right?
Yeah.
You're married to five people. And artists, man, we are the thinnest skinned, wimpiest people. It's my beautiful song. And you've unraveled it. You've spoiled everything, I mean, I'm in that. I understand because I am that person, right? So we're all snowflakes. So the industry has moved towards an artist. Okay, I just need to deal with one person, and then you can, hire a band. But man, there's so much less magic that happens. You're not in that room where you feel that, numinous moment, that sense of awe. And we can talk about. I love talking about awe. We can talk about that. But so how has it changed? Our system complete. I'm not going to go through the workflow. You can feel free to hit me up about it, off this live
They
stream
would.
sometime. Um, we could talk about it. I hope to get the video out there more about it. But the point is, instead of spending, you know, mega cash on a 24 channel, 32 channel, 64 channel console, when you're recording hip hop, which is the number one music in the world today and requires one mic, maybe two, right?
Mhm.
I don't need 64 mic pre's. I don't need 64 uh, channels of EQ. Take all that money and put it into the absolute best signal chain money can buy. And of course, I'm biased. I think it's ours because we put a fortune into the research and development. So that's a two-channel converter. That's your playback from your D to A. That's your summing mixer. That's your outboard. That's your switching. That's your monitor controller.
Mhm.
So,
I had one of those.
so yeah, right. So that is the new modern day workflow that I've been trying to get across to people, and it's very slow going because, again, we're not a publicly traded company or something where I can, you know, take out full page ads in all the magazines and spend thousands of dollars on social and bribe people to make commercials for me. It's like it's us out there pushing the van. Hey man, I got some good gear in the van over here. Come check it out.
Well, you get platforms like this, and here's your chance. So,
I appreciate it. That's why I said yes.
yes, I appreciate you. So, um, speaking of more modern workflows, you guys have now dipped your toes into plugins. Can you tell me a little about that? And you're working with Acoustica Audio. Am I correct?
Yes. So you know, back 13 years ago, we did a plugin with Brainworks, and it was like the best you could get at the time. I even remember Fab saying like, "But this is not right," you know,
That's a
and
good fab.
yeah, but who was involved? Chris wasn't involved in it. I wasn't involved in it besides just like sure, you should make a plugin, the sales and marketing side, right?
Right.
So anyway, so that came out and it's a thing, and we all owned it, and lots of people own it, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's like somebody wrote to me on YouTube, like, "Are you saying my plugin sucks now and it's worthless? And I paid this money for it." I'm like, dude, did you buy a car 13 years ago? Was it useful? Is a
Right.
modern car better than that car? Most likely. you know. So it's like, no, that's a tool, it's an investment, and technology's improved. So anyway, so I started looking, believe it or not, in 2020 for a partner to do something new, right? Let's get the backs up to where it could be today. And And the previous guys weren't interested. By now it was Native Instruments, right?
Right.
So they were just like, whatever. Why would we do this?
Why
Why
should
would
we
we
invest any money
why
into making better quality anything?
why put money into a product that is making money? Why do this? So
Exactly.
and I go off on that subject about how I've shot myself in the foot so many times trying to improve a thing that no one's probably going to notice, but I will know. um, anyway, so yeah, so we looked for a partner, and I actually talked to quite a few people, and my vision was bigger than just like, hey, let's make a new Bax, right? Obviously, I've got a 6-year plan of stuff that we want to do, and so I brought that to a bunch of people. And I mean, I'll tell you, even one person was like, hey, we just made it compressor. So we could use that as your compressor. We could just reskin it. Like,
No.
what are you talking about, man? You know, so that's the scary thing people don't realize. Like, you know, I think most of the plugins out there, the designer never really listened to. I mean, I'm saying plugins that are modeled on a piece of hardware. Anyway, so we took the time. I'm friends with Luca Pretolesi. We've had a good relationship over the years, and so I wanted to. He told me, hey, we got in this conversation. He's like, hey, I do this plugin thing with Acoustica, and I was like, you know what? I trust you, so I trust them. So let's do it. And here we are. Years later, we got a couple plugins. Much slower than they anticipated, unfortunately, because Chris and I are curmudgeons. We want to get things as close as possible.
I
We
don't know if you're a curmudgeon, but Chris is definitely a curmudgeon. So
a good one. I mean,
a
for
good
in a
one. Yeah,
good
he's
way.
one of my favorites.
I really appreciate his philosophy on things.
I actually brought up a on the screen for the folks so they could see what the Bax looks like. And I actually owned I think 3 or 4 of the hardware units. And I'll give you a testimonial from this week when I downloaded the new Bax. And I love the guys over at the Plugin Alliance. I've been friends with Dirk and all those guys for years. So this is definitely no shade at any of that stuff. But uh, there is a giant difference on this new Bax compared to the previous Bax. And, the best way I can say is, one was kind of there and doing the job. It did all the curves and stuff, but this is like a high fidelity version of that.
Yeah, I mean that. Thank you for saying it. I mean, and I agree with you. I don't want to slag on any product. That's no point. It's like I said, technology advances. We're not going to put we got a mission back to the moon. Are we going to whip out Apollo 17 and put everybody back in there?
Mhm.
I think things have improved. So let's build upon what we learned and make it better. So that's totally the philosophy.
Yeah, no, I got to say, you guys did a bang up job, really kind of bringing some of that dangerous fidelity, which was all the stuff that I fell in love with originally about Chris's designs and the sound of his stuff, into this plug where I kind of went, oh, there's the fidelity I was kind of going, it just wasn't there before. And it's a really lovely recreation of the hardware. I think you guys did bang up job.
Thanks. Well, I mean, my biggest thing is emotional connection. So I believe that music was probably the oldest language on the planet, and when you're writing, when you're performing, when you're mixing, when you're mastering, you're trying to find a way in, right? Where is the connection? And with sonics, it's the same. I want to be moved by whatever I'm listening to. If it's a monitor controller, it just needs to get out of the way, right, and let the music do it. But if it's an equalizer or a compressor or a circuit, I want it to affect me somehow. Make me happy, angry, horny, sad. It's got to have some emotional effect, or it's not a beautiful paintbrush. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to design beautiful circuits to be able to affect and bring to life your music in the way that you intend.
Sure. So if you had to describe what you hear when you hear, say, the new Bax plugin versus hardware. Are there differences? Does it sound the same to you? What's your take on this?
Well, I would say the biggest hurdle we had to cross was, does it have a similar sensibility, a gravitas? Engineers hate these words. Right? I'm talking about, mechanical engineers, the guys
Oh,
that
yeah.
working on the plugin, right? Because it's like, give me something to go on. You can't say like, I need more liquidity. You
It
know?
needs weight.
Yeah. So that was the biggest one. And that final revision where we sent our converters, our Convert 80 Plus and our Convert 2 over there, because obviously that's what Chris and I are listening through, and that's what he's designing things through and whatever. So we sent those, and that seemed to be the final piece of the puzzle that that brought us home. So will I say it is absolutely 100% identical? No, I can't say that. Will I say it is absolutely 100% as close as we can get today? Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
we sweated that thing, man. I thought it might end the relationship with us in Acoustica. I really did.
Wow. Those Italians get a little hot under the collar if you push them too hard. So,
They were great.
yeah, I know.
Great team to work with, man. They took our comments. I tended to make videos to
Mhm.
express what I was feeling or what I was seeing, and we backed it up with, audio precision graphs and charts and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it worked out really well.
Yeah. No, it's, you guys, like I said, did a bang up job on that. And let's talk about, your other plugin as well, which I'm gonna bring up again here. And, this is your, where are we here? That's the Bax. There we go. The Dangerous Convert AD Plus. Why don't you talk a
Convert.
little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's pronounced convert. The whole series is the convert series, convert 80 plus, convert
Oh,
2,
okay.
convert 8. The reason is because you will become a convert
Ah.
once you hear our conversion. Okay. That was my
Wah, wah,
bad
wah.
marketing that
Yeah.
no one ever understood. Okay. So yeah, so here I knew this would be highly controversial because people would say, yo man, you're trying to fake me out. You're making a converter. I already converted my audio. It's like, of course, I didn't assume anybody would be dumb enough to think that's what we were trying to do here. So don't accuse me of insulting your intelligence. I'm assuming your intelligence. So the idea was we had to do all the things besides the A to D conversion in
Right.
the converter and more. That was the trick, right? So this all started because Luca Pretolesi really likes to use the 80 plus to clip his tracks. So he's doing
Right.
EDM style music, electronic dance music, right? So level, punchiness, all this is super, super important. So he loves clipping the 80 plus to get this sort of these sonics. So okay, so we needed to match that. How are we going to do that? So that was the main thrust of this, and I call this gain fracturing, right? That's what we're doing. We're fracturing, we're splitting the gain. So you've got your waveform, and instead of and we're just chopping the top off. So instead of being a traditional limiter, which will set a peak you can't cross, but it does really soften the transient, this will leave your transient pretty intact. And so it still smashes, hits you really hard. You get that punch, um, but it's going to be able to um, lower the peaks. In the words of like a Chris Lord Alge, Chris would say, "Yo, man, so it's like you got a landscape, it's like a cityscape. Look at New York City. You got skyscrapers, you got all these buildings, right? And so, if you take off the tops of those buildings, then you can bring up the level of the other stuff. So, so that's essentially what's happening here. Now, I wanted to give you a lot more flexibility because on a piece of hardware, you have to clip it. In other words, you've got to come in really hot. Well, what if I don't want to use it on on the whole master track? What if I want to use it on a drum kit? What if I want to use it on a bass guitar, guys slapping, right? What if I want to use it on other instrumentation? So this way, I hike every day. Right, that's my jam because
Uh-huh.
spend my life here staring into a window to nowhere, like we're doing right now. So,
Right.
so, so I need to. My alter ego is get outside. So I hike every day, and I think, and this gives me a chance to sort of commune with nature and have free flowing ideas. I'm like, man, this is just a different style of limiter. So it needs a threshold control. It needs an input and an output control, right? So that's why we added that functionality to the box. If you look at if you switch, I think you're on view 4. If you switch to view 3, you'll see that I've also got now I've magnified. Yeah, so now see I've got my input and my output, and these controls are blown up. So now I can really fine tune things. The other part was I've always wanted an overshoot meter since way back in the day. Had to be like 1997 or something. Roger Nichols came and did an event in Hallandale, Florida on the Yamaha O2R
Mhm.
mixing console, digital mixing console, right? And I asked Roger, I said, and if you don't know him, he's a guy that, behind Steely Dan and these kind of things. He's a very technical guy.
I knew
Um,
Roger well. Yeah.
okay, great.
Yeah,
He's no longer with us.
I
His
know.
picture is in the Guitar Center, Connecticut store because I was trying to put producers from areas up in each, to make them unique back in the day. Um, anyway, I asked him. I said, "Why don't you have an overshoot meter? So you just know how much you clipped. If it's just like one sample, and it was a great take, I'm going to leave it. If you destroyed it but you're still hard to hear, you know maybe I want to redo it." And he laughed at me at the time, but then Apogee came out with the 88,000, and that had a counter. It counted how many samples, how many consecutive samples. I believe that's what it was. It was how many consecutive samples you clipped. So it'd have a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that would be every 3 consecutive samples. I think it counted. And so they had this meter, but you don't really see that out there. So I got my wish here. I got to have my counter for my overs. Then I've also got a meter, so it's just represented in a different way, right? It's just you can't go over zero, right? Really, but we put the meter there so you can visually see, just like what is time? Is time my watch? Is it analog? Is it a digital watch? No, time is the friggin' planet going around the sun. That is time. And these things just represent it. So that over meter is just a representation of your overs. And then, of course, I put a reduction meter in there. So you had 3 ways to see what you're doing so you can make really good decisions. And then, of course, I put LUFS in there for people like you, because I figured, you're going to want to see what's happening with this thing. So you comment. I mean, what do you think? We went
So
for it.
so I guess the questions I had on this particular piece of software, is it more of a limiter than a clipper?
No, it's really it is truly it is mimicking exactly what the behavior of the AD plus is when you clip it. So
Right.
it's as close as we could get to that. And then of course we gave you the other things inside there. You've got your transformer for a color circuit. You've got your emphasis for a color circuit like the hardware unit. You can do some things like change your minus 14, minus 16, minus 18, and then we give you 4 views so you can look at the meter in different ways and look at everything in the screen in different ways. Find the way that's best for you.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's a great clipper, and I've really been enjoying using it. And the some of the overs features I actually used to have in my old studios. I had some old NTP meters that had digital meters with overs on them, and
Cool.
I use those all the time. So it's nice to have those back again.
Great. Thank you. You're the first person that's thanked me for the overmeters.
So hopefully not the last. So, I got one quickie question that somebody kept, asking about here. Um, did Dangerous buy Chameleon Labs? Was somebody was asking.
I bought Chameleon Labs. Not really dangerous.
Okay.
So they're two separate companies.
Yeah. Okay. That should answer their question, hopefully, for the folks that were, because I had several people on the chat asking that. So, yeah, I just wanted to clarify before we moved on here.
Right on.
So, um, let's see. What else did I want to talk to you about today here? Oh, let's put up some comments because we can. Let's get everybody on the view again here and put up some comments. So Magic Ears says, is the clip guard tech in the plugin the same as what's in the hardware?
Okay, that's a really good question. And when someone tells you that, that's a good question, especially if they're a politician, then they're going to go into a story about my pappy and I used to go fishing every weekend down by the old farm, and he taught me anyway. So it can't technically be identical because there isn't a way to do what we do in that box in digital. So so the literal answer is no. The effective answer is yes. So it's not a limiter, right? It's just trying to turn off your red light in the destination. So I guess let's back up for people that have no idea what ClipGuard is. So the idea behind ClipGuard and the hardware, when we were developing this box, we were all sitting around. Actually, it was at Flux Studios. It was with the Fab and I. We were all at his apartment, and Chris Muth was there, Bob was there. We're all sitting there trying to figure out what are we going to do for a limiter in here. We hate digital limiters, so we're going to put a digital limiter in this box, And Chris was like, "Why don't you just turn off the red light?" And we all sat, and I assumed I'm the only idiot in the room who doesn't get what Chris is talking about. But fortunately, people came to my rescue. We were like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Let's turn off the red light. It's Sterling. I just built this box, so if you clipped it, but it was good, it would pass the CD mastering plant. Because CD
Right.
mastering plant at that time was if you had 3 consecutive clips, it was rejected. Right.
Yep. I
Those
remember.
days are long gone.
Yep.
but that was the way. So we're like, you can do that. He's like, of course. Everything for Chris is obvious. So so that's what the clip guard does in the Convert 80 plus. How
So
it does it
I
is
guess he's
different.
the same guy's asking, was it built to be clipped? So that's a yes.
Okay, yes and no. All
Okay.
right, so we learned from like the Lavery Gold,
Hmm.
right? So that people liked to clip that. So so we built in lots of headroom. We would anyway, because that's what we know. We know about analog headroom. So we built lots of analog headroom into that box. We didn't necessarily know if people would clip it or not. Chris is not out there clipping records that he mastered. You know what I mean? That's not his claim to fame. Um, but we built it so that it has the beautiful analog headroom, and then of course people that want to in different genres of music discovered that it had a very unique sonic signature about it. But we didn't design in opening the kimono here, and in full honesty, we didn't design it. We didn't tune the clipping to be a certain sound. We only built it so it had tons of headroom, so it would be hard to clip.
Right.
And I think that's part of why it makes it sonically better. If you've got um, a Scarlett O'Hara interface or something, and you're like, and you tap that, it's a very fine line between, okay and too much, right? Here you have a lot more fudge factor. Any piece of high end gear is a lot more forgiving. It just is, right? You can hit a compressor more and it doesn't scream, mic pre, whatever it is. I mean, at least you hope so, right? When you spend more money, you're essentially building in more headroom, better guardrails for you to be able to do stuff, to move.
I'm adding on our Instagram feed just suddenly stopped. That they have some kind of new thing where it stops after an hour now, and so I'm re-adding Instagram back on here because we were streaming to
Well,
both.
they might have an AI in there that checks to see if the people are boring. So maybe we got booted because we're too dull. We're talking about esoteric things out there. They're like, we don't need to know about this. Who cares?
All right, well, let's just continue for our YouTubers then. So, sorry, Instagram, but yeah, it's a YouTube show anyway. So,
Do you post it later so it's still up there for someone to watch
yeah,
afterwards?
you can watch all the old shows on YouTube on my playlist. So yeah, you can watch them at any time. So
Along with Gunsmoke and Lost in Space and The
exactly.
Jeffersons. You can see all the reruns. Excellent.
Moving on up. Um, so
Nice.
I guess just to kind of wrap things up for my questions, and then I'm going to leave this open for anybody that wants to kind of throw their 2 cents in towards you and ask you questions.
Sure.
Um, so if you were starting a mastering house today, and obviously things have changed a lot, would you still build a hardware based studio?
Me personally,
You personally?
so my feeling is when this whole new series of cars came out that had touchscreens in them.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm in my friend's. I already told you I drive a Honda Pilot, 2008 7 Honda Pilot. So I'm in my. I doesn't have a touchscreen. When I'm in my buddy's, whatever it is, X3, X something or other, BMW. I'm not a car person. I spent all my money obviously on gear. Um, we go and do this hike, and afterwards, it was really cold in the middle of winter in New York or whatever. So he jumps in the car and he's trying to turn on the heat, but everything's on a touchscreen. So he has to wait for the computer to boot up in the car. Whatever, some terrible song. Hire Richard Devine to write the boot up sequence. He's the guy that makes all those cool haptic controls. He did it for
He is
Jaguar.
indeed.
Yeah. Anyway, so it boots up, and then you're waiting for it. Okay, the computer's ready, and then he's got to get into the menu, and then he's got to find, the heat, right? But his fingers are so cold, they're white, right? So he's
Yep.
not circulating. So it's not saying that he's alive. So it's not responding. Okay, so I feel like we went to the like digital everything. Great, we've got this big screen to moving towards I still need knobs and tactile things to play
Yeah.
with because we still live in the physical world. I don't know for how much longer before we are absorbed by the metaverse, but today you and I are in the physical world. I still, like I said, I was just in the UK. I love the travel. I love meeting people on the train, subway, whatever,
The
talking to
tube.
people. That's just who I am. I'm the stranger you might end up inviting to your mom's house to hang out for dinner. That's not an unusual occurrence. Kicking me out too. That's not unusual either. So I think we need the tactile still with the non-tactile. And I'm not just talking about like a control surface. I'm talking about a physical thing that when you're turning it, it makes you feel. Like for example, on the liaison, which is our switching device. You can plug in 6 stereo pieces of gear or 12 mono pieces of gear, and you can just switch between your outboard real fast. A lot of us will over EQ or over compress because we're going for a vibe. We're in the heat of the moment. It feels great. But then we have a parallel circuit on that. So you can knock that into parallel and feel in your heart, in your body, where that sweet spot is. I
Yep.
can't really do that on a mouse, or on some haptic tactile interface. So I believe it's a hybrid world still. I think it's, I still believe in both. I will also say that for bionic people, there are people that are, making records inside the box, right? There,
Sure.
and to me, the ones that sound great, like Mick Gazowski can do that, for example, right?
Hmm.
He will tell you, "Hey, Marek, I'd much rather mix on a console or outside the box, but record label don't pay me for that, so I just do it in there. It's easier, right?" That's
That's a good
Mick,
mix.
and and he great, wonderful human being. I got to drive with him, like picked him up in Indianapolis airport, and we drive to Sweetwater to Fort Wayne. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes, and dude, he's just picking out the gear on the songs on the radio. He's identifying, oh, listen to 1176 on the vocal. It's just, I mean, he's, he really is a remarkable um, human. Anyway, I don't have those, it's like, who's got those ears? I don't have them. Most people don't have them. We need all the help we can get because we are humans that um, that live off our optics. Unlike certain creatures, 80% of what we do, well, you could argue 70, 80%, whatever. Most of it is from what we see. That's how we take in the world. And so we have to train our ears. So anything that's going to help us make us better at what we do uh, is going to help me. And so that's why I still believe in the outboard, the analogs. I think it helps. Great people can get great results. In the box, but I think getting outside, it 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 helps us, and it also, like a Luca Bertolesi will tell you, it makes him be more creative. Because once he gets outside with the summing, now he's not worried about latency or anything. He can do whatever he wants. He can run it through a friggin' Apex compeller or
Right.
something, right? If he's looking for something odd, or whatever it is.
So we've got a question from Magic Ears Mastering. He's, what's your opinion on the Bobcat's modification to the dangerous compressor?
No, this guy he wants to take a knife and stick it in my head. Okay. So, all right. Unfortunately, I'm the guy that gives unfiltered opinions.
Please.
So this is probably not good for me, but I'm just going to tell you where it's at. So the hardest thing, you're at a trade show and someone's giving you a demonstration on an analog compressor. And they're probably putting it on a drum kit and they're going, hey, doesn't that sound good? Makes the drum kit pop or dance or do something, right? And you want to ruin that guy's day, turn the attack and release knobs to the fastest setting and see
Right.
what it does. Okay. That is the hardest thing for an analog compressor to do. And that is dictated by the detector circuit. The detector circuit is essentially the brain of the compressor. So if I have a good brain, I can make it do good things. If I have a defective brain, an abnormal brain, I'm not going to be able to make it behave well. So Bob asked us to modify his compressor to slow it down. In my mind, I have no idea why we would want to do that.
Right.
So that's my opinion. So can we do it for you? No. I mean, sure we could. I mean, I'll just send you how to do it. Chris made a document, a change of capacitor value or whatever.
Hmm.
But I highly would dissuade you because the speed of the dangerous compressor is part of what is so magical about it. I mean, there are a lot of things, and I can wax poetically about it, but that is one of the great gifts from it.
Yeah.
So there's my answer.
Great.
Sorry, Bob.
No, it's
I love Bob. I just don't like. I didn't care for the. He sold that anyway after he did it. I think he felt guilty. Realized he ruined it.
let's see. I'm going back to some of these older questions here. Do-do-do-do. And Chad, if you got anything you want to say it now. Dun, dun, we lost about 40 people on our Instagram that had a bunch of questions. I feel really bad for them.
Well, that's one way to get out of answering them.
Exactly. Chat, you got anything for our guest tonight? Nobody else?
Going once,
Yep,
going twice,
it
going
is
three
going.
times. Ding!
All right, everybody's shy today. It's your loss, guys. You can hit some questions after we're done here, and I'll try to pass them on. Oh, we got a one from Phantom here. Let's see.
There were really good questions, by the way. All those questions were all good.
Phantom asks, do you think the plugins will bring the Dangerous brand into a wider audience, and what genres of music do you think would best benefit from these plugins?
So another good question. So look, it's like diversifying your portfolio, right? Do you invest only in Bitcoin? I hope not. Right. So you want to invest in a bunch of different things. So if one thing goes south, hopefully the other things keep you afloat. So for Dangerous to survive post-COVID, where it's a tough economy, let's all let's all acknowledge what's really happening out there. It's a difficult time for everybody. We have to diversify to stay alive. I spend a lot of money, way more money than would, if we had a financial advisor, then they would tell me is recommendable on research and development because I like cool stuff. I personally want to use it. I want to give it to you to use it. So we need revenue stream. So yes. Why did I do 500 series? I'm going to start answering your plug-in question with that. So I walked into KMR Audio like 3 years ago in London, and they're old digs. They have a new shop now, and the wall on your left was all 500 series. And I walked past that and I said, not a single person knows the brand Dangerous Music who buys this gear. So I need to be in this game. So I need to introduce that customer to something. So I always dismissed 500 because I just thought it's too small. I hated the 16-volt limitation, um, the power supply limitation. And so I asked the team, Chris and and crew collectively, hey, can we put the cut filters into a 500 series box? And they said, I think we could do the whole thing. And then, of course, years later, lots of struggle and money and whatever, we did it. So that put me into 500. And if I'm still alive and financially viable, we will make other things in that category as time goes on. I don't think it comes as a shock to anybody. Um, and then uh, plugins were also something that I had considered, as I told you, way back when we started. In 2020, I was thinking, okay, what could be useful? Because it's a hybrid world. I mean, look, I can't, um, I can't melodyne through a piece of outboard, right? I
Right.
can't, I can't necessarily, I can't time align my drum overheads if they shift over time,
Mhm.
right? Dynamically. There's a plugin for that, or if I'm using a lavalier and right. Props to a DPA over here, which isn't running today because we couldn't figure out how to use it in this live stream. So I'm just using these, unfortunately, for my microphone. Um, so the point is, you know, I want to. Had to diversify and go in all those directions, and I think it makes a whole lot of sense. I just wanted a partner that was willing to work as hard as we were, and so far, Acoustica has really been there. I mean, go listen to it, you'll see. And then let's see, what else did you ask here? Wider audience and what genres of music? Okay, so remember, Dangerous Gear is genre agnostic. It is, we are the only summing mixers used in every style of music, whether it be hip hop, metal, pop music, R&B, electronic, whatever. We're in everything because we don't put this heavy stamp on you. We bring your music in like we talked about. You mess with it, you add the color circuits that you want, and you send it out. So we're in every place. Really, for me, it was more about, I wasn't thinking about genres. I was thinking, which maybe I should. You're bringing it up, and it's a valid point. And thank you for. I always get educated by customers, always. Um, I was thinking more about younger people that use plugins more. My son's 25, right? As he's coming up, he shoots these. He's a videographer, and he shoots all these videos. Like we went on shot Tom Elmhurst together, and who else? Anyway, we're gonna be shooting Rob Kinelski in a couple weeks, down in the city. Anyway, he's hopefully Kevin Killen. Anyway, so he was always telling me as he's coming up, Dad, my friends can't afford your stuff. They know it's good, but they can't afford it. So this was a way for me to address people, and I understand it. Look, I told you about the studio that I built when I started out. I had one kick drum mic, and then when the death metal band came in, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's got two kick drums. I'm going to spend all the money from the session on the second kick drum mic, right?
Right.
That's how we built up our arsenal, in reality. So yeah, so I really thought, I thought uh, economics, and I thought uh, socioeconomics, and I thought age group is what I thought about with the plugins, and then everybody could use them. But you bring a good point. I guess I should think about genres too.
So, kind of tagging on to that, Daniel, whose questions I missed before, and sorry, Daniel. Are there any plans to emulate the dangerous compressor in the box or any other
Sure,
future software plans?
sure. We'll try to do that. I don't know if we can, honestly. We're gonna try. Um, and we'll drive them crazy trying. I've got, like I said, I've got a 6-year plan for what I want to do. Some things are things that the hardware does, and some things are beyond, because we can do extra things. You look at that Convert 80 Plus, all of a sudden it's it's not an 880 converter. I know people are mad because I called it the Convert 80 Plus. Maybe I should have called it the Convert gain fracturing device, Convert clipper, or whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry. But I put on lots of features that aren't on the hardware box, specifically because it would help you with what you're trying to achieve with that. So yeah, we're gonna try, man. No promises. I will not promise a thing that I don't know that we can achieve.
And we got one more here. What are your thoughts on making a master bus unit like SSL Fusion with the Bax dang compressor and the clipper circuit?
Yeah, so great question. In 2020, that's what we should have done. But instead of doing that, and it would be, I already know what that box would be. I know what would be on it and what it would do. And it would not just be like a compressor and a box, it would be a lot of cool things. So yes, 2020, I should have made that. Now, again, we're a small company. I've got X amount of cash. I've got X amount of design team. That means I can't take Chris and say, hey, I want you working on these 3 products simultaneously. He does not work like that.
Right.
He's a linear person, which is good, right? It's because he puts
For an
all
engineer, yeah.
his gray matter,
Mhm.
into that design, and follows it all the way through. So there was another product that you still have not seen since then, that is
Okay.
coming, that's just about bankrupted me. you know that's coming, um for you. And my long story short is, we didn't make it because I put all my time and revenue into something else that I didn't realize would be as complex as it is. And I understand why somebody hasn't made what we're making, because it is incredibly complex. To make it right, the thing we're making isn't something that no one's ever done. It's just, to make a thing correctly is different than just making a thing, right? So I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think the time has passed for this kind of box, right? I think we missed the window, right,
Yeah.
to for that to exist. So, and I'll tell you, I start on cocktail napkins because it's old school, and I'm done that since I was in my 20s. Um, I have so many ideas on cocktail napkins, or that have advanced from cocktail napkin to Google Doc,
Right.
as a sketch or something, that this product would have, if we decided tomorrow, like you talked me into it. It's got to fit in that line somewhere of things that I want to bring to the world, that I want to bring to life to the world. So
Yeah. I think that's all we got for tonight here. Anybody else? Nope. I'm gonna wrap it here. So, Marek, Dangerous and Chris's work and Bob helping out has been a huge part of my career, and I gotta say, I owe you guys a debt of gratitude for making such good product. And that's not a shill because I work in the box now, but I really appreciate all the stuff that you guys do, and you are a spokesperson without compare. So I think you do them justice, and it's been a pleasure having you today. Thank you so much.
hey, I appreciate the time. Anytime I can talk about gear and making music, it's great. So thank you.
Well, we all appreciate it, and thank you, Marek. And we will see you guys next week. Justin from Mystery Room Mastering will be back next week, and thank you all for watching. And everybody, take care.
See you. Make great music, people.